Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, pirates on the high seas. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of One Piece, where previously Elbaph is under siege by the God's Knights, celestial dragons looking to capture Elbaph and making the giant their personal warrior. Luffy and his group is busy talking to Loki down in the lower realm, with Luffy and Loki discussing their similar points of influence. Luffy by Shanks and Loki by Duuz-Diz-Din. Meanwhile, dream creatures have attacked the land. The children kidnapped and made to march into all kinds of danger, and even Scopper Gabon's son Colin being targeted by one of the God's Knights. The Straw Hats do their best to defend him, but are easily subdued. Saul tries to protect the children, but is easily taken down by one of the Knights. The God's Knights are determined to make Elbaph their warriors, even going so far as to burn down their library and school, as warriors should have no need for such things. Robin gets into a brief scuffle with Summers, but is also subdued in the process, only for Scopper Gabon to arrive on the scene, easily showing that despite the God's Knight seemingly having regenerative abilities, certain degrees of what seems to be advanced Conqueror's Haki can disable it, though it doesn't seem like they die from it in the process. Unfortunately, as Gabon goes after his son, Colin makes the mistake of calling out to his father, alerting Gunko of their familial relation. Gunko holds Colin as a hostage, and with his future sight, Gabon is able to see that, well, Gunko ain't bluffing about killing Colin. Gabon gives up, not wanting to endanger the life of his son, and he is mortally wounded by Gunko, instead falling into the lower realm, chased after by Chopper, who is determined to learn how he was able to injure the God's Knight. But as Colin calls out to his father, the cries from Colin jog Gunko's memories of Brook, of all people. But before Gunko can explore this frame of mind and who Brook is, he is suddenly overtaken by the will of Emu and made into his vessel, an extension of his very being here on Elbaph. What'll happen next now that the big boss has taken form on this land? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright. It's One Piece, chapter 1150, Domi Reversi. Wonder what that means. Alright, and the cover story is Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 34, Enma Shrine in Hakubai. Yasue's sword is enshrined, and the pilgrimage is complete. Really? It's over? I mean, aside from the Who's Who thing, we haven't really learned too much. But maybe it's kind of like with Odin, Yamato going around and collecting vassals like Ulti and Page 1. I do like that they've teamed up with Yamato. Ulti and Page 1 seemed like the most fun out of the Tobi Roppo. And after Sasaki didn't have the backstory I thought he was going to have, it was kind of like, I don't know. Let's jump in. You see several giants running forward, calling out, "The children!" Oh, thank goodness they're safe. And as the children, still made to march, walk towards them, they're all crying and sobbing. Colin says, "Mister from the bar, my daddy fell down into the underworld." And then one of the giants says, "What? Mr. Ya did?" Colin says, "It was that lady. Watch out for her." While the rest of the children cry out, "Daddy, Mommy." The giants see Gunko. You can barely see her because you're a little speck. And he's radiating off all this Haki. Giants say, "She's floating. Poor kids. You must have been so scared. Come, let's..." But as the one giant reaches out, he's stabbed by... was it the thorns? I can't really tell. Maybe it was the thorns? Unless Im did something. Regardless, the giant is stabbed and falls to the ground crying out in pain. The other giant's wondering what's going on. Even, this is Jarl's, great-great-great-granddaughter. What was her name again? Ylva? Yeah, Ylva. Ylva questions, "What? what was that? But as this catches Imu's attention, Imu says, silence, and radiates hockey, knocking out the giants and the children alike. It just surges all across the land, which is really saying something considering how big this land is. Ooh, even some of the giants running with Dory and Brogy are knocked out. As Brogy says, whoa, hey, snap out of it. And over where Jarl is, some of the giants are knocked out as well. And Jarl seems to feel that hockey. I don't know if that's a degree of familiarity with it, or it's just because this stuff is intense. Huh, what the hell? Okay. Imu now has bat wings, a devil tail, and a friggin' trident. Oh, just full devil iconography. What the hell? Literally. And I remember there were theories that Imu had some devil characteristics, but I guess they were right on the money. Imu summons a pentagram with the trident, or draws a pentagram with the trident, and 2 gun barrels pop out, and Imu fires upon the giants down below, blowing them up. Imu then telepathically calls out to the others, saying, all resistance must be quashed. Is this the best thy sleepdids can do, Killingham? Killingham in a panic says, not so, great one. The nightmare holes remain open. Oh, okay. I was wondering if there was some kind of spawn point. They continue to spawn monsters from every nightmare found on the island. Also, it's not just from the children. These are creatures from the dreams with no concept of death. They can be revived at any time on my command. Jeez, that's such a powerful ability. The Straw Hats... Oh, okay, wait. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what the scene was here, but the Straw Hats then see Summers rise up as Imu communicates with him, saying, lead the line of whelps, Summers. Summers struggles, saying, right away, as you command. Usopp questions, what? He's still alive? Jinbei then questions, is that the same woman up in the air? She seems different from before. Robin questions, where is Luffy's group now? Nami says, well, Luffy and Zoro and Sanji aren't here, but Brook calls out, Paladin's bunch as well. It's just our luck that they'd all be down in the underworld far below. Robin struggles with the vines that she's wrapped up in, despite the injury to herself. Jinbei questions, what are you doing, Robin? But Robin says, I have to help. I can't just sit here captured and do nothing, despite the thorns piercing her flesh, causing her to bleed immensely. But I think the sight of the library burning is more painful to her. Imu tells Summers, the question now is, with whom will we parley, using these whelps as bait? As Summers finally starts to regenerate, he says, absolutely right, oh great one. It makes no sense. A kingdom without a king. But then he thinks to himself, stupid Gabon, my body's in agony. Ah, okay. So the revival process is not just delayed, but it's also made painful to them? Is that it? As Dory and Brogy and the other giants arrive to where Imu is, Imu says, Dory the blue ogre, Brogy the red ogre, I charge thee with dominance over this land. Thou wilt be king. Yeah, why would Im think they'd agree to any of his demands? I wanted to say she, but I'm not sure, honestly. I guess I should go with a gender-neutral they. But Brogy calls out, are you with the Holy Knights? You're the one who's driven Elbaph to madness, he says, grabbing Imu out of the air. Brogy then tells the other giants, go on, Dory, join them, boys. The giants call out, sure thing, Captain. Well, Dory calls back, take care of yourself, Brogy. But as Brogy is holding Imu, he tells them, now give back the children. How many of you are there? Oh, Imu then summons a magic book? Okay, this is making me think of, Steel from, one of the Romance Dawn prototypes. Yeah, because, it's the magical abilities. And I wondered if that character would ever actually have, a role to play in the actual story. Because, in another, you had Crescent Moon Galley, who I think inspired Whitebeard, and then you had Spiel in another, who outright had magical ability, even rode on a broom like a witch and stuff. And the only devil fruit was the Gum Gum fruit. So, like, Spiel was just pure magic. Is that what we're seeing here? Is it actually just magic, or is it a devil fruit ability that just looks like magic? Because, I mean, summoning a friggin' book. Oh, God. Oh, I looked at the other page. Holy crap. So, Inu summons a book saying, "Understand this, Brogi. Thou wilt meet with Beardhill Jarl. Yes, the J is a Y. Jarl. Cut off his head and hold it aloft." Are they going to have some kind of spell to try to control Brogi? Emu magically opens the pages of the book, saying, "Then announce to thy people that we are the kings of Elbaph." A strange energy sprouts from the book as Brogi says, "Never! This is our country. You can't tell us what to do." Suddenly, a knife and a massive double-barreled pistol, comes popping out. Emu takes the knife, stab Brogi's hand. Then, as Emu is freed, I'm thinking, they grab the pistol, says, "But it will not be for nothing. I give thee the power of evil." And Emu shoots off Brogi's hand. Gee, yeah. Holy crap. That's brutal. One of the giants call out, "Ah, the captain's arm!" And as Brogi's doubled over in pain, I don't know, it's not bleeding a lot, though. The giants say, "What happened, Captain? I don't believe it. She took off his mighty arm. She'll pay dearly for this." Emu then draws another pentagram in the sky, saying, "In exchange for some measure of thy lifespan, thou wilt receive an undying body and uncanny strength." Huh. So Emu's just forcing their will. I mean, devil fruit abilities could do something similar too, though. Emu says, "Under fealty to me, thou art unbound by common sense and logic. Demons are the only proper form of life to take. Diabolical covenant." And a magic circle appears underneath Brogi. The giants call out, "Did she say demons? What's she doing to him?" Brogi suddenly starts to sink into the pentagram, flames erupting underneath him. And he says, "Ah, I'm sinking!" Oh. Emu then takes their hand, holds it out, and flips it, and says, "Domi Reversi." And now Brogi, halfway stuck underground, the ground starts to shift, and he's flipped upside down. Oh, his underside is black. The giants call out, "Captain!" As Brogi says, "Whoa, wait, stop!" And then as he's upside down, he then makes his way out, and with a demonic look on his face, Kashin says, "Huh? Oh, yeah, he's huge." The giants say, "Ah, he's turned into a demon. What happened to you, Captain Brogi?" Oh, and his hand is still, like, cut, but he's operating. Oh, that's freaky. Oh my God. Do this against someone's will, too. That would take an immense amount of hockey. Oh, man. The giants say, "He looks terrifying. Is he a real demon now? Give back the captain we know. The real Captain Brogi has never once tried to attack his own crew. He's got a warrior's but they're knocked into the horizon by the demonic Brogi, saying, "Bah, bah, 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 bah. I feel all powerful. Nothing can stop me now." The giants then call out, "No, she's got Captain Dory too." Oh. And the now demonic Dory says, "Yeah. Come along, boys. It's time to kill a Jarl." The giants say, "No, Captain Dory, stop. You have to wake up. If you actually do that, our country is doomed. Help us stop them. What about saving the kids? Captains!" Oh, what? To several giants standing in between Dory and Brogi, the Domi Reversi happens to them too. The giants call out, "What? Not you guys too? Was it because they were standing between the two of them? It can't be. Just keep your distance." Ah, really? Just even standing between the two of them causes them to be switched too? That's... oh, jeez. How do you stop that? Emu then looks upon everything that's going on. The sleep dids, the demonic giants. As Emu says, Not bad. So this is the power of Elbaph. It will not be destroyed, but preserved and ruled over. Perhaps it is time to stay and watch, to see how useful they will be in war. Jeez. Things are getting dire. Meanwhile, in the village that Jarl is in, giants say, "Please, Chief Jarl, you must flee. Something's wrong with Captains Dory and Brogy. Run for your life." But Jarl doesn't move and tells them, "Never tell a warrior to run from battle." I mean, I appreciate the sentiment, but unless you got something up your sleeve, now might be the time to run. Okay, I got my camera back working. You gotta love technical difficulties. But next up is One Piece chapter 1151. I get the idea, as we see Yamato throwing a sumo wrestler. Oh, Kawamatsu's there. It's Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 35, Sumo Journey in Hakumai, hurling Urashima's big brother Yokozuna Sukune? Huh, okay. So Yamato's story isn't done yet. Interesting. I wonder where it's all going. Well, I don't really mind exploring Wano, though. Kashin calls out, "Wait, captains, you mustn't do this! Chief Jarl is the world's oldest warrior. He's a hero of legend. We've looked up to him for our entire lives, haven't we?" But the demonic Brogy says, "Yes, that's right, Kashi. The warrior we once admired has grown old and feeble, so it's time to force him into retirement." Jeez. The demonic Dory says, "And then we will be the kings of Elbaph. There's no need for the god of Elbaph anymore. Bring about the age of war. We'll build an era defined by the ruthless and mighty." Kashin says, "You guys never talked like that before. What's gotten into you?" And one of the other giants says, "They back Kashi. They were flipped over and turned into different people entirely. Now they're like demons, dark and twisted all the way to the core." Kashi says it can't be. But as the one giant talking is also caught in between some of the demonic giants, another Domi Reversi appears under him. As Kashin calls out, "Thorman!" Also, it's like, is it Go? Or I think it's like Go. Oh, so it works under game board rules? That's interesting. So is it that all Emu has to do is at least get 2 people under their control, and it goes from there? And how is it decided when things work in a game board-like manner? I'm really curious how this all works. But as Thorman has the 2 giants move next to him, he says, "Oh no, I'm trapped between them. No wait, I don't want it to turn evil. Don't flip me over." And as he's flipped over, Kashin is shocked. As he turns into a demon, Thorman says, "Ah, an incredible feeling." Kashi says, "No, Thorman, not you too." He tells the other giants, "Retreat for now. The tides have turned against us. The enemy took out Gabon, it seems." Huh? As the demonic giant warriors go on the attack, the other giants are running, saying, "No, that can't be." Ripley overhears this and says, "Wait for me, Cullen. Mom's gonna save you." While she thinks, is that true about Mr. Ya? He then cut over to Branch Route 8. As the children are not still sleepwalking, they hear the giants say, "Demons! The giant pirates have turned into demons!" So all the kids start to dream of demons. And over at the Nightmare Hole, that's what crawls out. Demons. Out into Elbaph. He's Killingham just continues to have more and more warriors. Oh, yeah, okay. Is this a new form for him? You see, I guess Killingham blowing on a horn, saying, "Get to your feet. You're not actually dead." As we see one of the sleeptids that were taken down just rise right back on up. Killingham, now in a centaur form, says, "That's right. Get up. Be reborn. There's no waking Elbaph from this nightmare." As he gallops across the house. Oh, so that's his actual face. Huh. Kind of makes me think of a Soul Eater character. Interesting. And as Killingham races across the sky, he says, "Now things are really cooking. With the Great One here, there's no need to hold back. Rampage to your heart's desire, my sleeptids. Remember, Elbaph, you created these monsters yourself." Saint Killingham, Dragon Fruit, mythical type model Kirin, man-beast form. It's wild the amount of man-beast centaurs we've been seeing lately. Meanwhile, with the Straw Hats, Nami questions, Are there even more of them now? Jinbei says, looks to me like things have gotten pretty hairy. While Usopp calls out, Master Dory, Master Brogy, what are you doing to your homeland? Wake up, you guys. Why do you look like that? Where's your sense of pride? But his words fall on deaf, demonic ears. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the giants call out, damn it, we can't save the children. Now I understand why Saul wasn't able to stop them. The children are being guarded by monsters and invisible thorns. So it was thorns before with the other guy. Well, one of the moms call out, wake up, Bent! Ylva! I don't got time to be passed out. I'm going to save you, boy, just you wait. Yes, see, now that's a parent's determination. Jeez. Somerston radios in. How far should we go, Great One? While Killingham says, the playing board is entirely in our color. They will eventually crumble under the weight of their own personal demon. Emu says, continue until it breaks. Killingham questions, until what breaks? And Emu says, the heart of Elbaph. This country would have been subjugated years ago, if not for Harold's miserable failure. Emu says that in almost the same context of Lily. So did Harold try to kind of pull a bit of a double cross? Kind of making it seem like they had allied. See, maybe that's why Lily, Nefeltari D. Lily, had allied with the world government too. Not because they wanted to, but because they were strong-armed into it, maybe. With the threat of this happening, it then cut to many minutes earlier in the underworld. Okay, yeah, when Gabon was injured and fell, Chopper gave chase, more or less. And as they both plummet, Chopper says, I didn't think this through. I really didn't think this through. Well, I kind of figured you'd use guard point to save the two of you. Chopper says, but calm down, Chopper. You got this. You can do this. Make sure he doesn't die. And then Chopper, with a little bit of gearless energy, I'm joking, races down below Gabon and is probably about to use guard point. Yep, and uses guard point to cushion the fall. Yep, smart. You got this, Chopper. Okay, so, I think it's Loki who says, if you want answers, then beg me for them, Harden. And Harden says, you killed my father, Loki. Loki says, he was my father, too. Harden says, and yet that didn't stop you from ending his life. One of the others says, knock it off, Harden. Well, I think it's Luffy who says, hey, Chopper just fell down from above. I think maybe Sanji says, huh? You heard something? Did you see him? Luffy says, nah. Loki says, true. It does seem like something just came down from above. It was beyond the mountains. Luffy, still eating a giant hunk of meat, says, huh? Say, how did I know it was Chopper? Oh, I just figured it was your observation hockey. Has it got leveled up again to the point where he's able to pinpoint stuff like that? It's kind of hard to keep up with the progression of what abilities he has. Someone else is with him. They're weakened. Sanji questions, that sounds pretty bad then. Did they fall from all the way from the sun world above? Zoro says, we gotta go search for him. Okay, so I guess as the others left, Gerd and Goldberg were left with Loki. Loki says, hey, Gerd and Goldberg, you got anything on your wish list? Like someone's head or some jewels? Or Goldberg says, oh sure, we got wishes. Well, Gerd says, but we're not unlocking your cuffs, Loki. Loki says, damn, bunch of goody two-shoes. Then Loki's fuzzy Dendenmushi rings and automatically picks up. Shaggy saying, hello, Loki. But Loki interrupts and whispers, hey, Shaggy, listen, I'm busy right now. Call back later. Shaggy says, don't worry, it won't take long. As a matter of fact, I'm busy too, just one thing. Loki says, huh? Fine, just keep your voice down. I think it's pretty evident that Gerd and Goldberg are listening. As Shaggy says, I wasn't able to tell you earlier, but I will be unable to call you for a while, I think. Loki whispers, huh? What do you mean? Shaggy says, at first I found it frightening, but the more you and I talked, the more our conversations became a source of solace to me. I wanted to express my gratitude. Loki questions, hey, what's going on? Don't tell me. Are you in danger again somehow? Who is this person? Shaggy says, I'm fine, don't worry. But Loki says, where are you? Shaggy says, I just wanted to say thank you for everything. As Loki says, hey, wait, hey, Shaggy. But they hang up. Loki says, damn it. He then tells Gerd, what are you looking at? Gerd says, I'm glad to know that you have a friend. to keep you company here in the lonely underworld. Is that a genuine expression, or is she mocking him? Loki says, don't you dare tell anyone. Meanwhile, as the others arrive back, Harden says, hey Gerd, prepare your medical supplies. Mr. Yacht's hurt badly. Gerd says, huh? As Luffy overlooks Gaban, he says, I guess everyone really loves this guy, huh? You're lucky that Chopper was here to save you. Good job, Chopper. And Chopper says, what? Oh gosh, you can't butter me up like that, you jerk. Later, Luffy is shocked, saying, what? This old guy? He was on the King of the Pirates crew? He sailed with Roger and Rayleigh? Someone says, he and Dark King Rayleigh were known as the Wings of the Pirate, King of the Pirates. I assume he was the third strongest on the crew. Luffy says, what? Zoro comes up saying, so he was a huge pirate, huh? That would explain why he was so tough. Luffy says, and it means he knows Shanks. I feel like Luffy is more Shanks obsessed than usual, and in this story arc, Harden leans in saying, look, he's trying to say something. What is it, Mr. Ya? And Gaban holds up two fingers saying, second strongest. Harden says, he seems really fixated on that detail. It's so good to see you again. You're awake again, Mr. Ya. How could this have happened to you? Oh, I think it's Rhodes saying that, maybe? I don't know. Chopper says, oh, about that. There's huge trouble going on up there, Luffy. Everyone, listen up. The children were taken hostage by a couple of bad guys, and nobody can do anything to stop them. There are giant monsters rampaging around, and then they get the blast of hockey from Emu. So that's where it kind of lines up. Ooh, and everybody feels that. The boss says, no, that hockey. Oh, okay. So this has happened before. Maybe in God Valley? Okay, so Emu can possess any of the God's Knights at any time. I guess that would make sense, since they're able to go through the abyss. Yeah, Zoro and Sanji feel it. Road, Goldberg, and... Road, Gerd, and Stenson. You don't actually see Goldberg react to it. And Stenson says, oh, I think it's Road who says, my word. Harden says, everyone back on the lift. We're returning to the Sun World. Elbaph's in danger. Luffy says, save your breath, Chopper. I get the idea. Did you hear that? I felt that. Well, Loki says, whose preposterous hockey is that? Looks like you're gonna need me after all. Dang. He was just on a whole nother level, huh? Alright, and the next chapter is chapter 1152, A Horrible Day. I mean, it really is, considering everything that's happening. And man, I always forget Yamato's so big. And I could have sworn that Ulti was closer than height to Yamato? I guess not. I at least thought Ulti was, up to Yamato's chest. That is Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 36. Otama's Amigasa hat delivered to Kawamatsu, Daimyo of Hakumai. And of course, it would be a place that's all about sumo. Okay. Emu's hockey continues to radiate outward. The giants say, hurry to the lift. Do your best with that fool, Gerd. As Gerd says, all right. Road calls out as he gets on the lift. Take care, you guys. Ultra Ray Gerd. I will give it my all. Make it sappy, Haruden. We've got to go. Meanwhile, Chopper says, I'll stay too, Luffy. You can't move Mr. Yao when he's so badly injured. Luffy says, all right, thanks, Chopper. But Gaban says, hey, Straw Hat Luffy, make a mental note of how you use the color of the Supreme King. They are not immortal. Luffy says, thanks, I got this one. I'm gonna save Cullen and everyone else. Loki then says, you've helped me see the sense of it, Gaban. I wasn't able to verbalize my own power. And in that case, I've experienced it for myself. The Holy Knights can be stopped. Okay, so he has met the Holy Knights. Which, you can assume as much. It was kind of inferred that he's met them before. Undo my cuffs and take me with you, Harden. Harden says, you're gonna fight for Elbaph? I'm not taking you anywhere. Gaban says, seems like there's more than one of you with Supreme King Hockey. Okay, he says that looking over at Zoro and Sanji. Is it just Zoro or is it Sanji? Sanji comes up saying, who? Me? Yeah, I had a feeling. I'm tired of Mosshead and Jinbei stealing all of my glory. Poor Jinbei. But Gaban says, you there, swordsman. You seem quite at ease with it. Zoro shocked, saying, Wait, I can use Supreme King Hockey? Yeah, I wasn't sure if he really understood that or not. Luffy shocked, saying, what? You didn't know that? It's flowing out of you. Vaughn is speechless and says, unbelievable. Hockey is a power that's only useful when you consciously control it. How do you expect to support your captain and Emperor of the Sea without knowing that? Zoro says, sorry? So Zoro's not even at his best because he's not even controlling his hockey. Sanji says, hey, Gramps, what about me? See, we're never going to find out, are we? Because then Loki interrupts saying, this is pathetic, Harden. You'd rather have outsiders save our homeland? Elbaph already has me. And we're really not going to find out if Sanji has Conqueror's hockey, huh? Dang. I guess Oda's just going to leave it up in the air. But Harden says, it's not a fact because I can certainly see you betraying Elbaph and joining the side of the government instead. You more or less already did that once. How could I possibly trust you? Did it once. And she's saying something because in this case he had the opportunity, but he didn't take it. Sensei calls out, hurry, Harden. Wasted time means more victims. Luffy then calls out, hey, Loki. Oh, join my crew, man. Then we could set him free, Harden. Really? How would that even work, though? But I don't know, now that he said it, it's been a long time since Luffy's actually just asked someone to join his crew. Zoro and Sanji start to panic. Zoro saying, oh, forget about it, Luffy. There's no way this enormous freak fits on our ship, right? And Sanji says, what about the food? He eats more than you. Luffy just smiles, saying, come on, it sounds like Elbaph doesn't want you around anyway. I think it'd be fun with you. And if anyone's got a problem, I'll whoop them. Loki says, shut your mouth, Pipsqueak. Why would I ever be a henchman for you? See, now he's definitely going to join, because it's usually when they deny at first that it's like, oh, okay, you're definitely joining. Harden questions, is that what your instincts tell you, Straw Hat? Luffy says, I want to see him fight. Stenson calls out to Harden. And Goldberg says, watch the hold up. We gotta use the lift. Harden calls out, I'm coming now. He takes up Luffy saying, sorry, Straw Hat, but Elbaph has condemned Loki to death. You can't have him. Luffy actually kind of gives up, saying, oh darn. Vagabond says, Harden, go on and unlock Loki's chain. Harden turns saying, not you too, Mr. Yao. Why do you say this? Loki killed 113 soldiers in the castle 14 years ago. He gave Chief Jarl a most grievous wound, and slaughtered his own father. His crimes are monstrous and historic in scale. Vagabond says, I know, but the day it happened, we felt an extreme abnormal haki from the castle. Oh, so maybe it was the Domi Reversi? That's why Loki did it? Was he controlled or was it Harold? Vagabond says, and Shanks and I headed for Aura's castle together. We didn't see the whole thing, but we were there. Harden says, you what? Luffy says, huh? Did you just say Shanks? Harden calls out, sorry, Sensen, you'll have to go up first. Luffy calls out, Zoro, Sanji, we'll catch up with you soon. And as they head off, Zoro says, Shanks obsessed fool. Luffy says, what? Don't call Shanks a fool. Well, Sanji says, he was talking about you, fool. As the others leave, Loki is left with Harden, Gerd, Gabon, Chopper, and Luffy. Loki then turns to Gabon, and Gabon says, who better to tell the story than Harden? You're still brothers, even if your mothers are different. Harden goes up to Loki saying, you have 3 minutes to explain. What happened in the castle that 14 years ago, Loki? If you're a true warrior of Elbaph, then swear by the name of God and speak the truth. A grim shadow falls over Loki's face and he says, this is a cruel demand, brother. You want me to relive that evening? Stenson helps Zoro and Sanji onto the lift. Gerd and Luffy, Chopper, and Gabon listen intently. Loki reclines, his wrist over his eyes, saying, I'd rather not remember the details. It was a horrible day. We cut to 14 years ago at Aura's castle in Elbaph, before it was messed up. We see Loki coming flying in, and someone calls out, someone's coming from the sky. And as Loki laughs, Cigar says, oh no, Loki, Prince Loki has returned. Chief Jarl is here as well. As we see Jarl on one of the spars. As Jarl and Loki enter, Jarl says, he summoned you too, Loki? Loki says, hey, we're a family. You're looking good though, old man. Just try not to live too long, eh? Jarl says, shut your mouth. Well, they get along pretty well. Another guard says, His Majesty is in the throne room. Loki says, what does he want with me anyway? I have no interest in a man who'd sell his soul to the government. But he knew about it too. These are the people who killed Rocks. Did Garp kill Rocks? If Elbaph is going in that direction, they'll make an enemy out of me. Jarl says, lower your voice. Lower your volume. You're an old man now. I'd rather leave the politics to the younger folk. But Loki just goes on as he says, and that lackadaisical attitude is exactly the problem. It's how you end up with peace-addicted children with no idea of how to swing a weapon. Jarl says, that's the age we live in. My granddaughter's granddaughter doesn't fight, and she's adorable. Aw. Loki gets mad saying, soft old dullard. Train her up. Use some discipline. What's that ruckus? Coming from the throne room. The guards say, Chief Jarl, thank you for coming. And Loki, my prince, welcome back. Loki says, hey, I heard that. The guard says, just a minute, let me check with the king. Loki says, he summoned me here. This is my home. He stomps the guard into the door saying, just open the damn door, you clown. The guard says, stop, no violence, your highness. But as Loki kicks the door in, he walks in saying, hey, Pop, I'm back. Oh my god. What the hell? They don't look like they're under the effect of the Domi Reversi. So it was his own guards that killed him? Was it a coup? How did this happen? Okay. Jarl calls out, Your Majesty, Harold! See, and Loki calls out, what's going on in here? See, they seem both genuinely shocked. I know there were people who had thought that Jarl might have been involved in the death of Harold, but I don't know. He seems legitimately shocked. And of course, the one person who could acquit Loki of what happened has an injury that affected his memories of the day. Dang. You then cut over to the Sunworld, Gabon's house. Oh, you see Shanks' arm, and it has a mark on it. That's not... Did he have his arm bitten off on purpose? I wonder if that mark means anything. We cut to the Sunworld's Gabon's house, where Shanks and Gabon are chilling. Shanks says, the view's simply enormous. This place is the best. As Gabon says, ain't it? Been a while since we shared a good bath together. What's it been, 3 or 4 years? Shanks says, are you kidding? Catherine died 10 years ago. Gabon says, has it really been that long? Must feel like an eternity for you then. Shanks says, yeah, my life's changed entirely. My plan was to join up with Buggy and lead a laid-back pirating life. But even here in Elbaph, there's so much more to learn. He really wanted to travel with Buggy. That's unfortunate. Gabon says, you're a child of fate, Shanks. Don't bother thinking over the tricky little details. You remember Little Guard, the island where we met Dory and Brogy? Okay, so it was Roger's crew that ended up in Little Garden meeting Dory and Brogy. Yeah, okay. Shanks says, of course. Ripley then peeks in saying, how does the water feel, Mr. Ya? And Shanksy Shanks is taken aback saying, that scared me. Shanksy? Gabon says, it feels great, thanks, Ripley. Gabon says, she seems to like it when I'm at eye level like this. You see Ripley holding little baby Colin. Shanks says, I guess this is how you have to design your house if you live with a giant, huh? They had a specially designed house for them. Oh, that's cute. Ripley really loves her husband. I like that. I like actually seeing a loving family where both of the parents are still alive and in their child's life. Ripley holds up a pie saying, I've got a lingonberry tart for you. Have some wine with it if you like. Tell me some stories about Mr. Ya's younger days, Shanksy. Shanks says, oh boy, the tales I could tell. At every single port of call, Gabon had a different... Oh no! Gabon pulls on Shanks' cheek saying, hey punk, you want to leave this island alive? Okay. So Gabon's a bit of a womanizer, huh? As they take the conversation outside, Gabon says, you know much about King Harold? They worship him like a god here in Elbaph. Shanks says, yes. I met him in Marijwa. We got along all right. Marijwa. How long did Shanks go to Marijwa? I'm interested in the timeline of things. Okay, 14 years ago. 10 years since Roger died. How old was Luffy when he met Shanks? Was he like 7? Okay, 19 years ago. Luffy's 19. 14 years ago, he would have been. Okay, so this is only 1 year before Luffy meets Shanks. Okay, and naturally, Shanks wouldn't have met Luffy because he still has his arm. And then Luffy met Shanks at 6, and then a year later after that, that's when he loses his arm. And Luffy's 7, right? I think. I don't know. I'm trying to piece some things together. Moving on. Shanks says, but there was something we couldn't talk about in the Holy Land. So if he's back home, I'd like to meet him and discuss it before it's too late. Before it's too late. The narrator says, on this day there was a massacre in the castle, and the most beloved king in Elbaph's history, wise King Harold, perished. But what was it that caused people to praise him so? And a massive amount of hockey comes blasting out of the castle. It's felt all the way up to Gaban's place. Them saying, huh? What was that? You see a guard banging on the door saying, let me out. Who blocked the door? Help! So was it a coup? Or did they only come back to their senses after they King Harold? After they killed King Harold? Guard says help, and then you see blood splatter. You see Jarl impaled through the head. You see someone unlocking some chains and saying, this is the treasure of Elbaph, the forbidden devil fruit. The narration says, for that we must go far back in time, to 109 years before the present, when the question of what is the most frightening thing on the sea would elicit a unanimous answer. The giant pirate crew were the most widely feared figures of the day. Oh god, you see a young Dorian Broggy before they grew out their beards and stuff. At the same time, the royal ship from the land of giants only enhanced the fear the world felt towards Elbaph. And a major reason for that was that Harold, king of Elbaph, who ascended the throne at just 45 years old, 15 in human years, was undeniably a low-life scumbag. So the peace-loving king had a bit of a warring side. Okay, that would explain why Harold put up with how Loki is, because he's just like, nah, he reminds me of myself when I was younger. It's a phase, he'll grow out of it, kind of situation. And you see Harold's ship arrive at a port. And people say, it's a giant ship. You hear young King Harold say, I hear there's a beautiful princess in the castle. Take a look. One of the giants peek in and causing a stir. And then Harold says, oopsie, my foot slipped. And he kicks the dude's face into the castle, destroying it. Another giant says, please don't do that, your majesty. Jeez. And the young Harold laughing as he causes chaos and pandemonium. He says, who's your god now? Jeez. Okay, like father, like son. Yeah, you're definitely the father of Loki. Okay. One Piece chapter 1153. The birth of Loki. Okay. So we are like full on stuck in the past now. All right. Cover page is Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 37, Daimyo of Ringo, Kikunojo, and Boss Ocho. Okay. See, did we see any? I can't remember. It's been a while. Did we see any of the other Yakuza bosses, like just with the Daimyo of the other regions? I can't remember. But I love that Yamato and Kiku have such a good relationship. That's sweet. We have narration saying, Prince Harold of Elbaph lived out his rather unhinged childhood years alongside Dorian Broggy. Okay, so man, Dorian and Broggy were always kind of involved with King Harold. Okay. Thanks to his innate size and strength, gifts from his ancient giant blood, as well as his noble status, he developed an inflated sense of self, and no one could stop him from growing into a royal pain. We pick up with the young King Harold picking his nose and lounging He picks his nose and one of the boogers friggin' blasts the shark out of the water. My god. Harold says, everyone outside of Elbaph is so tiny and pitiful and boring. Don't you agree? The other giants say, yeah, of course, your majesty, you're exactly right. They then cut to Bunt Kingdom in the New World. Someone announces, come one, come all, marvel at the 10-meter woman. Feel the earth tremble as she walks. Cover your ears with when she barks thunder. A rare giant from the exotic land of Elbaph. Feast your eyes on Ida. Is that Loki's mom? Is she? I feel like is she playing along or is she actually captured? Because as Ida roars, the announcer says, step away from the cage if you don't want to be hurt. And the people go running. Harold sees this saying, turning a giant into a sick sideshow? They've got some nerve. Okay, she was playing along. Yeah. Harold says, yeah. They thought that Elbaph was a joke. Well, who's laughing now? Ida says, who are you? And Harold says, no need to thank me. I'm the king of Elbaph. I won't stand to see my homeland disrespected like that. And then Ida promptly slaps him in the face, much to the shock of his guard, saying, what? Your Majesty, King Harold. I love Harold's face. Like, oh. You slapped me. His face. Oh man, Ida goes to the side of the ship, trembling, looking at the destruction left behind, saying, turn the ship around. I need to apologize. So many people were hurt back there. Harold says, are you sane? You care about the mini kingdom of tiny humans? Ida backs him again. It's his Nami. Saying, do I have to hit you again? I mean, yeah, you kind of already did. The guards say, King Harold. Ida says, they saved my life when I washed up on their shore and gave me a job to do. They were kind enough to help me make a living even until I was fully healed. She grabs Harold with tears in her eyes, saying, what do you mean, tiny humans? Just because you happen to be born huge and are coincidentally strong and British, you actually think that makes you better than humans? How can you be so arrogant? It's pathetic. This is why everyone thinks that all giants are barbaric and brutish as Elbaph. And so they come back and help repair everything. I think it's Harold who says, just because I was born huge. And he just watches as Ida helps fix everything up. His guards say, should we just set sail, King Harold? Harold says, why are you all just spacing out? His guards say, huh? And Harold yells, go and help her, you ninnies. That town is as tiny as a model. It's easy work. The guards say, yes, Majesty. And we hear people talking, saying their method of construction is completely different from ours. We should tell everyone about it when we return to Elbaph. I want to bring home some of their spices. I've never tasted flavors like this before. Notice how hardy their fabric is? Yet it's so fine. These humans are more skilled than we realize. Ida even gets Harold to apologize to the king. The children love him, and you have him partying with the people of the town. You have to see things from their eye level, Harold. Nothing in the world is meant to be destroyed. And this is how they fell in love, huh? Ida explains to Harold as they set sail. I was born on Samwani Island in the South Blue. There's some twists and turns my life's path brought me here. Harold says, so you crossed the serpent of blood. Okay, when Dory and Brogy talked about the giant serpent soaked in blood, it is the red line. You know, because they talked about how their Ikoko sovereignty, or their stupid, powerful attack that they can use to really kill giant things, can't pierce the red line. It's that stupidly strong. Ida says, you mean the red line? Well, yes. Which is why I can't go back home. I love that they're like knelt down on the ground, Harold waving a tiny white flag to the natives of one of the nations they arrive at. He even brings them up like a friggin' shark to feast on as a bit of a peace offering. Harold says, then come to Elbaph. We're not as barbaric as you say. Ida says, oh, maybe I was mistaken about you too. And as you have Harold and Ida talking, one of his guards says, King Harold's changed. Another says, yeah, it's creepy. I bet it won't last long. Never underestimate the power of a good woman. We then cut to Elbaph 105 years ago, so 40 years have passed, with Harold saying, I wish to atone for all of my countless crimes. Someone says, what's gotten into you, Harold? Harold says, I may be out of the country more often than I'd wish, but it is only to join hands with our neighbors and ask them to teach us their culture. If we learn from the rest of the world, we can make our land and lives richer. Dang. It just took someone, that gets so sensitive, more or less. Another giant yells out, yeah, but Dory and Brogy are still raising hell out there. I mean, you got about 5 years before they're not doing that anymore. Or 3 years? I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes. Harold tells the people, they're good friends of mine, but they have always been eccentric. They're cordial with humankind and follow a code of honor. The giants yell out, that's true. Harold says it doesn't hurt that they can fight, of course, but if they pose too much of a threat to other nations, we may have to rein them in. What was his name? You have Jarl, and is it Yorl? Was that it? Jarl and Yorl? Yeah, Yorl. Yorl says, "Zabababa, what a turnabout." While Jarl says, "Bojajaja." Meeting new people took him on a journey. Harold, no, Elbaph is blessed with good luck. You say that for now. And you continue to see Harold traveling with Ida. Harold explains to the people of the Elbaph, for example, by sending diplomats back and forth, we can help deepen the ties of friendship between nations. Someone says, I see, so we're each taking hostages then. Harold says, don't say it like that. It means that countries can't get to be friends unless the people in them are connected somehow. Oh, so a lot of time passed. Elbaph 81 years ago. Fisherman Village, Eastern Elbaph. 81 years ago. So, man, that's a lot of time. 15, 20, 24 years have passed since Harold had that change. 24 years. The people of Elbaph say, the baby's been born. Congratulations, Harold and Ida. Harold says, thank you all. And now Ida and I can, but I guess the elders... Okay, so it doesn't look like Jarl and Yorl. It seems like it's elders from other villages, because Jarl and Yorl seem to kind of be down with the fact that Harold had a change of character. It's these shadowy effers that said something. And they say, no, you are forbidden from marrying her. The royal line must remain pure of blood. See, it makes me think of the elders in Naruto, who were always hanging around Hiruzen, because it's like, Hiruzen, he had his issues. He was a bit too much of a pushover. But it was everyone else around him. They made the worst kind of decision. You see a very angry Harold holding his son's hand saying, I'm sorry, Ida. It galls me that it must come to this. Ida says, this is just how the culture works. You can't get emotional and fight against it. While the other people say, you're always welcome in our village, Ida. Ida says, as long as you live in the same country as Daddy, you'll be happy, right, Harridan? Harridan just cheers. Okay, so this is Loki's mother. I mean, she's a hottie. We're introduced to Elbaph Brewer Village prestigious daughter, Estrid. Someone says, this is your true betrothed, Harold. Estrid's blood is pure and ancient. She is the one worthy of being our queen. Estrid says, I was born in the Brewers Village to the north, and I studied geomancy. Geomancy? What's geomancy? System of divination by interpreting marks on the ground or figures made from dots. Oh, is she the one who told about the terrible things Loki would do? Oh man, what is your own mother for telling that you're gonna do bad stuff? Estrid holds her hand out for Harold, saying, it is my fate to love you for the rest of my life. Forget all about that woman and child to the east. Harold says, oh, that's, no. You see how uncomfortable he is with that. Estrid, Ida rolled with it because it's just like, hey, it's the culture, and that sucks, though. That sucks. And then you see her barking orders saying, good heavens, the spirit is escaping to the east. Your good luck is getting away. We must close these windows at once. Harold says, huh? Then Estrid says, and that mirror, it's in the 5-star kill position. Destroy it at once. Oh, God. She's one of these. You see Estrid petting a very large horse, saying, this is Asla, the horse of good fortune. Isn't that the one that Loki, kills? It's a gift from my clan. The perfect mount for you, King Harold. I have no doubt that this horse will bring you great luck. The guards say, it's enormous. And why does it have 8 legs? Oh, it does have 8 legs. Yeah, it's like in Norse mythology, is it Sleipnir or no? Who was the horse that Loki had given birth to that had multiple legs? Yeah, Sleipnir. Okay, yeah. And then Estrid says, "Guards, bring all the jewels and gold in the treasury to my chambers." I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she certainly wasn't looking for no broke giant. As she walks off, she says, "This is to ensure that the fortunes of wind and earth are sent in His Majesty's direction. Also, inform the scullery maids that from this day forward, the king and I will be using the fine silver to eat all of our meals." One of the guards thinks to himself, "Is she just after luxury?" Yeah, I get that feeling too, buddy. Just a little bit. The narration then says, "About 70 years ago, in an era when the rigors of the sea made it difficult to maintain trade between islands, Elbaph's skill at navigation was the envy of other nations." We see Harold helping some sailors, even going so far as to carry their ship. He holds up a compass saying, There's a star to the north that never moves called the Pole Star." And the people say, "Oh, ah." It's unfortunate. Nobody really talks about, because it's probably a bit of a retcon of all this happening, but no one really talks about the giants in a positive light in this manner. Although there are some people on the Grand Line who don't really bat an eye at giants too much. And then you see, I love that even the bear is listening, as Harold talks about his life in the outside world. Someone asks, "You said you met a mermaid king, Harold?" Harold says, "Yes, I have at last. Fishermen, too. In the kingdom where those with fish blood live, their king has a newborn heir named Neptune." Oh yeah. At first I'm just like, wait, he met Shirahoshi, but then I had to think in giant years. Oh, wow. But then again, so much information of the world is kind of, filtered out. So anybody who would have had a positive experience with the giants, there'd be no real memory of that because of the way everything really is run in the world. All the creatures of the sea, not just the mermaids and fishmen, are engaged in a grand celebration that spanned the seafloor. Then the narration says, "Alrus Castle, Elbaph, 63 years ago, while Harold was away from home." Oh, and this is it, the birth of Loki. Someone says, "Congratulations, my queen. It's a very healthy boy." Astrid says, "His name is Loki. The king and I decided on it. Now, show me my baby." Oh, God. Oh, is that what his eyes look like? She was, So she didn't take too kindly to her own child, my God. Yeah, Estrid takes one look at the baby Loki and immediately backs away, saying, "It's terrifying." The wet nurse says, Your Majesty?" Estrid said, "It's horrid. What is that thing? That is no son of mine." The wet nurse says, "Please, Your Majesty, try to remain calm." But she does no such. Wow, she flies into a rage. Tells the kingdom that it was stillborn. The wet nurse says, You can't be serious." Esther says, "It is accursed. Just look at that baby. It's a monster." And now we have a different narration. The Prince of Elbaph grasps for the empty air, but no hand reached out to envelop his own. Oh, gee. Esther then grabs the baby, running off. The wet nurse says, "Stop, Your Majesty. He's the royal heir." The narration then says, "The most unfortunate of all living creatures is the one whose very existence is denied by its mother in the moment of its birth." Did she just chuck him into the lower realm? My God. Esther says, "Do you hear me? I bore no child. Do not tell a soul about this." The guard says, "But what are you planning to do?" Esther is packing up all the jewels. My God. "I'm going back home. I never want to bear another child." Someone comes in saying, "Your Majesty, head guardsman, down in the other world." Estrid, still pissy, says, "What about the underworld?" Oh, God. And you see the little baby Loki actually just clawing its way back. Oh, when he was a newborn? My God. Oh, my God. We've seen a lot of messed up things with a lot of characters' backstory, but I don't think we've ever seen a mom just right out the gate try to off their child. I don't think we've gone that far. Yeah, this is kind of throwing me. because it's such a stark contrast. Because you watch Kuma's backstory, which is which was going on in the anime at the time that this was coming out, and there's so much love when he was born. But for Loki, it's just like, not from rip, just malice, hatred, disdain. No, see, that's the thing. When a child has nothing but that in their life, it's constantly being blamed and put down and having this, that, and the other happen. They just learn to deal with it. They don't know how to accept actual love. And that explains why he doesn't know how to take compliments or anything. Like, even when, completely, Gerd was actually trying to say something nice, though she was kind of teasing him. He just took it as her, messing with him. Oh God, did he behead a bear? Damn, kid. The narration says, Queen Astrid fell ill. And Astrid says from her bed, get rid of the child. There was a prophecy before it was even born. The prophecy said that King Harold would one day be killed by his own son. The head guardsman says, not this madness again. So the prophecy was BS. There was no prophecy. It was all because she didn't like the... Dang. See, that sucks. The mistake Harold made was not being there for the birth of his son. Because he could have maybe changed all of this, but he was too busy trying to establish the outside and this, that, and the other. And that might even explain why Loki has such disdain for the operations of his father. And while Harold was busy banging his head against the problem of national relation, you see Harold saying the world government has stepped in to block our path again. Why can't countries be free to decide for themselves? See, okay, yeah, Harold definitely, whatever situation he had between himself and the world government, he was trying to be a diplomat, not realizing that they didn't want actual diplomacy. And then you have Haruden and his loving mother. Oh man, I feel like Ida. I feel like Loki kind of maybe resents his brother and the love he and his mother have. Is Ida still alive in present day? I don't think we heard about her dying. You see Ida saying, "Hey, can you see the baby too? He's your brother. Can I see the baby too? He's your brother." Harden then angrily says, "He's not your son, so he's not my brother." Ida says, "Aw, you're even sweet like that," and she gives him a kiss. Aw. Oh, Loki. I feel like if Ida was at least allowed to be there, she would have cared for Loki. Dang, that's a different level of sad. Because there were so many people who actually would have given Loki the love that he needed if they had known about the situation. All of the misfortunes that would fall upon Elbaph would be known as Loki's curse. But not even that, it's the curse of his mother. His mother essentially cursed him with all this talk of prophecies and bad luck and BS like that. Dang. It explains the bandages around his eyes too. Man. Loki's comment, everything went wrong the day I was born. One Piece chapter 1154. Can't even die. Oh, I have a bad feeling in what that's referenced to. And we have Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage Volume 38. Go pay your respects at the grave of the hero born in the West Blue and raised in Ringo. What? A hero born in the West Blue? Huh. Who are they? Was this where... I don't think this is where, Kawamatsu and Onimaru were hanging out. Huh. And I love Ulti making a snowman. Hey Pepe, do you want to build a snowman? Yep. 633 years ago, the partner of Chief Jarl, oldest of the giants today, Beardfall Jarl, was killed by a young girl. Oh, yeah, Lin. Oh, boy. The girl, a human, half destroyed an entire giant village. Her name was Charlotte Linlin, and she would later be known as Big Mom, Emperor of the Sea. As it happened, in that very same year, Elbaph was afflicted. Yeah, Loki was born that year, but it wasn't also Rode and Goldberg also born too? As it happened in that very same year, Elbaph was afflicted by disaster after disaster, fires, gales, and cold snaps that affected their crops, and poor fishing hauls as a result of the extreme weather that brought this normally fertile land to the brink of starvation. Jeez. And Estrid, still in her bed, calls out, "You see, it's because of that child. The kingdom is now under its curse because you didn't kill it like I told you to." The head guard says, "But surely that's a coincidence." Suddenly, you can hear the door cracking open. Estrid panics as baby Loki makes his way in. Ah, jeez. But why does Loki have eyes like that, though? I mean, Orange Jr. didn't have eyes like that. Or is this hard to tell because he was a zombie? And Estrid panics, saying, "It's looking at me." The head guard says, "Prince Loki." Estrid flies into a rage, saying, "Kick it out! Don't let that monster near me ever again!" As the baby Loki is held back by the guards, they say, "Prince Loki, you mustn't approach your mother's chamber." But Estrid yells, "Put out the B-sides or this country is ruined. It's all under a curse." As baby Loki cries, you see a mother and her child saying, "I'm hungry." The mother says, "I'm sorry, sweetie, that was the last loaf of bread we had." You see some giant saying, "Should we go raiding? It would be easy to take from the humans." That's a part of Elbaph's history, isn't it? Don't be a fool. Elbaph has always fought with pride. That's just a story we tell ourselves. The huntsman village is attacking us. What? Them? They've taken out other villages too. Grab your weapons. Don't let them pillage us. Oh, man. Okay. So any sign of the good that was the giants had kind of been lost by this point. That would explain why most giants are seen as vicious or bad. That's unfortunate circumstances right there. The narration says, "At this time, Elbaph had little internal cohesion and cooperation." Where's Harold? Like, dude, get back to your country, buddy. Lead him through this. Civil wars were not uncommon. With the desperate food situation, the fighting only grew worse and many died. The country was plunged into chaos, and over time, the people grew sick within their heart. We see an old giant saying, "From what I heard, that prince at the castle is accursed." The old giant is told to hang on as he heads over to the place where Harridan and Ida are. The old giant says, "Hey, Harridan, your brother has put a curse on this land. He's trying to kill it." Harridan says, "Huh?" The old giant says, "You're his brother, so you must be a sacrifice." Ida says, "Huh? Why? My son's the sweetest, cutest boy in the world. And that means he's got to live to be the oldest boy in the world." The old giant grabs Ida by the neck, holding his weapon aloft, saying, "Shut up, Ida. You had no right to seduce Harold like that, outsider." Despite being choked, Ida says, "You shut up. Love has no borders." Harridan pulls out his sword, saying, "Don't touch my mom." Only for Harold to step in, bopping the old giant into the ground, saying, "Don't make me pound you." It's just like, I think you already did, Harold. The giant say, "King Harold." Harridan says, "Daddy." While Ida clutches onto him, crying out for him. Harold questions the other, saying, "Why do you turn on one another, my brethren?" The giants say, "Your Majesty." Harold says, "In the same breath that I heard about the birth of Loki, I learned that my kingdom was suffering from starvation. I went at once to the other countries which we have ties, and without a single word they went and loaded up their ships with massive piles of food. Each human has but a tiny body, but they banded together country after country and brought enough food to fill our giant belly." My God, that is the biggest act of humanitarianism. Well, shoot. You know what? I take it all back. Harold, do your thing. He was props to Harold. No wonder people love him. They're in their worst time. You'd be like, it's easy to have just immediately criticized him like I did, but no, he was actually like, okay, then I'm getting shit done. Just Harold out there getting shit done. Okay, damn. Establishing good relations, making sure his people are fed. Man, dang, okay. Oh, shoot. Oh, you know what? I love this King Harold guy. Good king. Another good king in the good king box. Harold cries out, "Let us be grateful for their aid. Let us savor the food they brought us. And you see ships with massive piles of food on them. Like, my God, I don't even know how any of the cruise people sailed these things. As the people on the boat say, "We're here, Harold. Hey, how do we dock at this island?" It's enormous. As the giants eat and the people on the boat cheer for having helped out, Harold says, "And when they in turn need our help, let us give it freely. The world we live in is so much smaller than the real thing." Dang, man, yes. Shoot, even in this day and age, that's the kind of lessons we should be teaching. Like, man, hell yeah. Oh, the narration says, shortly before Harold's return, Queen Estrid passed away, and to her dying breath, she spitefully blamed the kingdom's ills on the curse of Loki, her own son. I mean, dang. And considering how just hair-trigger pissed she was since Loki's birth, I'm pretty sure she killed herself with that. And his eyes are already bandaged. Naturally, the people believe that the curse was responsible for her death. You see Harold now looking a bit older. No, not too much older, so it looks like not too much time has passed. He's holding up Loki, but Loki, I don't know, like, it feels like the kid is already just kind of knowing. Dang. Harold says, "Loki, my son." The guards tell him he was born with an affliction of the eyes, I'm afraid. Though he can see, I assure you. So that's the story they came up with. Harold says, the poor lad. You smile? I suppose not, after losing your mother. He's got a lot of bruises. The guards say, well, nah, he is. Did they actually gouge out his eyes? But he can still see. At just a few months old, Loki abandoned any hope for love. Dude, that... Oh, no, I don't know how you keep topping yourself. And it's not yet as bad as Kuma's backstory, but at least Kuma knew love. I mean, Loki, he's only a few months old, and he just doesn't believe that he'll ever be loved. That is tragic for a baby. My God. The narration then reads, meanwhile, Harold's diplomatic ties paid off, and Elbaph survived its long winter. Harold's meeting with some giants. As one of the questions, branch route 1, Harold says, that's right. It will promote friendship and trade between villages. The narration that says, but between rebuilding the shattered country and his many foreign trips, Harold was tremendously busy. And so the care of Loki fell to his regent, Estrid's older brother. Oh no. Who immediately calls the Loki horrid thing. You know what? I wonder, is Shaggy maybe Ida, Harudin's mom? I wonder. Maybe if she's still alive? Because so far nothing's indicated that she's dead. Not getting my hopes up, but I wonder. And it seems like she runs the bar then she might be dead. Because she's not the one running the bar anymore by the shore side. The young Hardin says, it's dangerous down here. This is the underworld. Ida says, no, the sea separates us from the underworld. The beasts can't reach us here. That's so sweet of you to worry about me, though. Ida says, you're going to do your warrior's training with Elbow of the Western Village, right? I'll stop by on the way home. Fishermen, the shipwrecked pirates, all commoners are welcome here. This is Ida's bar. I just hope it helps Harold somehow. Wait, is it still called Ida's Bar? The narration then says, 56 years ago, Jarl's home, Elbaph. Jarl says, so you were there for the incident at the Reverie, Harold. Incident? Harold says, yes, I asked a fellow royal to help me slip inside as a soldier. But in the end, the council would not hear me out. If not for all the uproar about that murderer, I might have been in prison. Jarl says, if you were lucky, you'd only be in chains. That was reckless of you. Say, have you ever heard of the Galiela band? Harold says, that group of hardy giant shipwrights? Giant shipwrights? Hammer-wielding warriors, right? I thought they were a myth. Jarl says, no, they most certainly existed. They traveled to distant shores and sent a letter back to Elbaph from afar. They said, we have all been taken prisoner. Do you believe that? Who could possibly capture 100-strong company of our kind, with ancient giants among them to boot? Captured? Harold says, you think the world government did that? Jarl says, as he's watering his flowers, it's clear that we had a great enemy at some point in the distant past, but all of that history was sunk under the sea one day. My point is, your failure to win them over might not be your fault. Okay, I don't think Jarl's bad either. Because, I don't know, he's giving Harold solid counsel. Also love that Harold's beard just slowly grows more and more as time goes on. I've heard stories of... Oh wait, Harold says, some ancient enemy? Jarl says, I've heard stories of the wind about an army of giants put on ice and hidden somewhere. Oh, yeah. Punk Hazard. In any case, never forget that we have long been a threat to the rest of the world. Jarl says, yes, I'm well aware of that. Oh. Esther's brother says, oh, Prince Loki, killer of my beloved sister. Let's see, what rotten scraps shall I feed you today? Ah, really? And we see Loki slowly grow more and more. Someone says, oh no, the lucky horse is dead. Oh no, the regent is dead. Down in the underworld. Oh, I actually wouldn't be surprised if Loki actually did that. I'm just saying. Loki was always bruised and battered. Was the regent abusing Loki in the background? Dang. Harold really needed someone actually there that he could trust looking after his kid, because he kind of left Loki to a bad situation. Harold was doing great things, but dang. Narration that says, 48 years ago, Harold built 8 branch routes in Elbaph, unifying the country and creating a vibrant trade between villages. Oh, they created the route. Oh, dang. Harold was working hard to, build up his country. That sucks. If only he had stayed with Ida, maybe things would have turned out for the better. And he was able to build up his country in such a great way. But when it came to the tradition of who he married, he rolled over on that hard. I guess he didn't want opposition for all the other stuff he was doing. Maybe that's it? I don't know. Harold then announces to the people, my dream is for us to be connected to every country, and for giantkind to be able to live all across the world. The people cheer, you're the best, King Harold. I can scarcely remember how he used to be. Harold is now a king for the ages. While some guards come up to Harridan, bonking him on the head, saying, why do you look so pleased, Harridan? You're not the king's real son. Loki is our only prince. You're just a bastard. You know, I feel like in another life, if things had worked out a little differently, Harridan and Loki probably could have got along real well. Suddenly in a village, someone calls out, look out, King Harold is gone on another of his trips, and you know what that means? Bolt your doors, bring the children indoors. The narration says, Loki meanwhile caused harm and destruction, and mocked those who ran from him. Yeah, you see just Loki coming in with a whole bunch of the animals from the underworld, saying, come on boys, destroy him. This is Elbaph, land of the mighty. The weak don't deserve to live. Yeah, Loki learned all the wrong lessons. Oh, boy. Someone calls out, hey, Loki. Oh, it's Harden. Saying, don't mess up the village Dad worked so hard to rebuild. Harden says, huh? He's my dad, not yours. That guy might get a lot of respect, but he tries to be friends with those tiny little bug humans. It's so stupid. Harden then meanwhile says, you have to see everyone at the same eye level. Don't think you're special just because you're big. But Loki just bops him one. Loki saying, I'm special because I'm the prince. Don't ever talk back to me again, shrimp. And Gerd and Goldberg come racing in. Gerd calling out to Harden. Well, Goldberg says, stay away, Gerd, or Loki will think we're friends with him. Then he'll hit us. But Gerd hits Goldberg, saying, we are friends with him, dummy. Everyone starts clamoring for Harden, saying, are you okay? Quick, help him. But Loki gets pissed at this display of affection, but he laughs it off, mocking Harden, saying, you little creep, you're a loser, Harden. Look at you weaklings licking each other's wounds, the son of a mother with tainted blood. The guards then come in saying, Your Highness, that's enough. He's the king's son as well. He's a prince. But Loki says, don't call him a prince, and he bops the guards, with the narration saying, but no matter how much he harmed and destroyed, Loki could never fill the hole at the center of his being. As he attacks one giant child, he sees a mother holding their child close. This seems to have an effect on Loki. You see Loki once again plummeting into the underworld, and as he lies there bleeding. Okay, so he still has his eyes, because he's sobbing out of them. He says, I can't even die. What? No friggin' way. I get to see his... Wait, what? Father of Blackbeard? Oh, y'all just came right out and said it. Wait, future captain of the Rockspire? But wait, So, hey, Shiki, Stussy, Whitebeard? So they were there before the formation of the Rocks Pirates? What were they called before that? Sorry, that's a lot of information to take in all at once. Okay, someone says, what's up with this island? Where do you get inland? And then you see a mountaintop just cleaved. The animals with Loki start to panic. And as they approach, someone says, look, there we go. Look, it's a giant kid. So this must be Elbaph. Shiki said, this one looks positively demonic. Loki wipes his tears as Whitebeard says, seems too big, even for a giant. Is he crying? And Duuz-Diz-Din, future captain of the Rocks Pirates and father of Blackbeard. I'm still caught off guard by you just coming right out and saying that. Says, all right, brat, you're going to say yes twice, because that's the answer I want from these questions. Question 1, is this Elbaph land of the giants? Question 2, is Harold here? Was he involved in the murder? And that would... Oh no, there's multiple reasons why you would know about Harold. But did Rocks kill someone in Marijois? And who could he have killed? Wait, narration box. This man whom Harold met at the Reverie 8 years ago killed a Navy headquarters admiral and fled. He killed an admiral? He killed an admiral? Dude, killed an admiral. That's insane. The caliber and power we've seen with admirals is so next level. The idea of killing one. I mean, Luffy has managed to overpower Kizaru, but that took some doing. And Kizaru, I don't think he was fully into the fight either. To have killed an admiral. Now the government has placed a heavy bounty on his head. What's his bounty at that point? Like, my god. Actually, yeah, what is his bounty? Because most of the pirate bounties we ever saw, the highest was Gold Roger at 5 point whatever. What was Rox's bounty? Huh. Yeah, and is that a scar going over his eye, or is that a tattoo? Oh yeah, he's definitely Blackbeard's dad. The nose, the mouth, the eyes, yeah, I can see it. The only difference is the teeth, honestly. Oh, that's I gotta tell you, I was, it just came out of nowhere. Oh my god, okay. Huh. Alright, and the last chapter has a great cover page of everyone at a very high altitude. Luffy just swinging across like in One Piece Odyssey, Usopp hanging on to him, Frankie in a hot air balloon. Oh, there's a billboard in the background with Gear 5th Luffy, Robin, Chopper, Zoro, walking across the ladder, Sancho trying to coax Nami across while she's scared and clinging on to Jinbei, Brook just playing the violin. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. That is really cute. Okay, but I need to know more. Chapter 1155. The Rocks Pirates. Oh my god. Loki says, yes, this is Elbaph, but my dad ain't here. He's on an expedition. But are you puny humans? I've never seen your kind before. You really do scurry around. I think it's Stussy who says, oh, you're adorable. Rock says, wait, did you say dad? Are you Harold's kid? Even on an expedition, you can still get in touch with him. What's your name? Loki responds, Loki. Rock says, okay, Loki, you're gonna do as I say. Go back home right now and get someone to contact your old man. Here's the message you tell them to pass on. Loki is gravely wounded. Return to Elbaph at once. Loki gets angry, saying, huh? Since when do I listen to what you humans have to say? Oh, geez, okay, this is when Loki got injured. Hey, does he use Hakoku's sovereignty? Divine departure? Loki reels back, saying, plus, it's not like Dad would come back home just because I got hurt. Stop ordering me around, you little weakling. Rox charges up an attack hockey, conquers hockey infused attack in his sword. As the narration reads, Rox's sword attacks were famous for blasting everything in sight, like a gigantic hammer or a cannonball. He knocks back Loki, and Rox just laughs, saying, there, what did I just say? Loki's gone and got wounded. The narration reads, this madman had crossed Harold's path. Yep, at the Reverie 1 year ago. Someone shouts at Marijois, 5 kings have been attacked and captured. It's an abduction. They were taken by a large man dressed in black. And Emu says, the lives of kings are no threat to me. He saw it, and is that? Wait, how long ago was this? So are the God's Knights immortal? No, Otherwise, Garling would still be young. But that's Gunko, right? Huh. Rox, having infiltrated the private room of Eam, says, I suppose not, but your holy land is in a panic. The narration reads, in a historical anomaly, never repeated before or since, someone infiltrated the Chamber of Flowers at the very core of the Holy Land. Gunko turns, and so does Eam. The narration says, the man described himself as a worshipper of Davy Jones. What? Davy Jones? He did not do anything more than this, as he knew he could not. Before he departed, he left a warning, Rock saying, I will be back right here. Narration then reads, naturally, word of this incident never saw the light of day, but as it happened, one other man infiltrated the Holy Land at the same time. You see several celestial dragons saying, look at him, he's far bigger than a giant. I deserve him for a slave. No, he should be killed and stuffed for display. The guards say, guards, protect your lieges. And you see Harold on fire for some reason, racing through Marige while saying, hot, 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 fine, the talks are off. I apologize for trespassing, but is this really necessary? The guard's saying, don't let the king abductor get away. Harold says, no, that wasn't me. And then he crosses paths with Rock. Someone announces, the admiral's been defeated. His attacker went to the palace. Be wary. And as Harold and Rox cross paths, a celestial dragon says, what is all of this hubbub about? Bring me the big one. Harold says, he must be the one who kidnapped the king. I'm not gonna be the fall guy. I'll seize him in. Well, Rock says, a giant in the Holy Land. Is this guy lost or something? And Harold and Rox cross blades. Oh, snap. So Harold has Conqueror's Hockey as well? Dang. Okay, Harold was a hoss then, alright. They hit a stalemate. The narration reads, the clash between strangers eradicated any sign of others for 5 kilometers around. Wait, eliminated? Their clash killed people? Rock says, name yourself. While Harold laughs back, saying, I'm Harold. Rock says, I'm Rox. Aim at the town with the next blow. If they capture us, they'll turn you into a slave. Harold says, what? Why? Rock says, don't think, just do it. And I guess Harold did in order to escape. Harold races off with Rox riding on his shoulder. Harold asks, which way is Elbaph? Rock says, the new world's that way. If you survive, let's meet again, Harold. Harold says, never. I don't consort with villains. And he jumps off the top of the red line. Rox saying, what? You jumped off? The narration then reads, the Navy Admiral that Rox had just struck down perished of his wounds despite emergency measures. So the battle was that intense. So Rox maybe didn't even mean to kill him. But Rox doesn't even look like he was injured. He does look a little bruised, never mind. I think. Hard to tell. After his many crimes of the day, Rox's name was launched into infamy, and his deeds stunned the rest of the world. Sometime later, he attacked a ship laden with heavenly tributes en route to sacred Marige. Not only that, he destroyed the Gate of Justice, and fled once again. He sounds like Luffy, just on a tear. Or I guess more like Blackbeard. With this ship and money as an initial base to work from, Rox dove into the pirating business. He wasn't even a pirate at that point. That's insane. His activities were always hostile towards the government, but his first target was actually another pirate ship. In the pirating world, there had long existed a famous and merciless game played between crews, a Davy Back fight. The Davy Back fight consisting of various competitions in which pirates gambled the fate of crewmates and flags. Yep, and there you go, Davy Back fights coming into play. That's why you don't skip Long Ring Longland. It might be boring, but it's important. At least check it out in the manga, not the anime. The anime does too much. Rox made good of his use of this game to assemble a very solid lineup for himself, and Rox is commanding Whitebeard and Shiki and Stissy. They've got someone amazing, you guys are gonna be shocked. The narration says, at this point his motley crew of miscreants flew no flag, and that was when they arrived at Elbaph. Okay, so they were a crew, but not an official crew. And they arrive at Elbaph saying, that's it. Who the heck is that guy? Friggin' chin for days. We cut to Alros Castle, Elbaph. Hardin has arrived saying, I hurried back as soon as I could. But You're already nearly healed up. What a relief. I know you're a very strong boy, Loki, but you should stay away from the underworld. Okay, so Rox didn't... Nobody was informed how Loki actually got injured, and Loki doesn't even say anything. That's how Harold says, you're lucky you only fell off a cliff this time. There are plenty of other dangers that could befall you there. While Loki thinks to himself, I can't believe Dad actually came back. That was just a coincidence, right? He wouldn't come back to see me. He can't even believe that his dad actually cares. This poor kid. Harold then goes to see Rox, saying, Rox, I heard all about your exploits. What are you doing here? Rox says, I've been dying to see you, pal. You should join me, Harold. The world government's not gonna hear you out anyway. Didn't you learn that lesson last time? Harold says, nonsense. The day I team up with a band of infamous rogues like you is the day our allies lose all faith in us. Oh, is that the one dude from the big dude eating the grapes in the background? He was one of the general zombies too, wasn't he? And there's a gangster, maybe connected to Capone Beige? Shiki said, yeah, appreciate the feast. Lucy says he's huge. Well, I'm not sure. I guess maybe Whitebeard says, so that's the king of Elbaph. Well, Rock says, what? So you'd rather be ground beneath the world government's heel? Harold says, I'm looking for a way to avoid that. We ought to be equals, every one of us. Rock says, now you're talking nonsense, Harold. Elbaph is a nation of almighty warriors. Anything you don't like, you can just smash to bits. Harold yells, that's ancient history. Elbaph is changing. But Rock says, people's nature doesn't ever change. I know that fighting blood is in your veins. That fine blood in your veins is bubbling over. While Whitebeard says, can't we at least eat in peace? Harold says, if you people follow this man, only disaster awaits you. We see, wait, mobster Shiki, future golden lion. He was a mobster? Huh. Shiki says, follow this fool? Don't make me laugh. We're all individuals. If Rox dies, it won't affect the rest of us in the least. That explains where Blackbeard's philosophy comes from. Science robber Miss Buckingham Stussy. Science robber. So basically she goes around stealing technology. Stussy says, that's true, but his plan is very appealing to me. We're set to make a killing. Don Merlon, gangster of the West Blue. I feel like I'm not going to try to look into it too deeply, but okay, I don't think he had any connection to Babe. Okay, I guess not, huh? Oh, that's Wang Ji? Ugh. Or Choku. Oh, Pirate Guru. Ugh. Okay, we got Pirate Edward Nugget, future Whitebeard, who says, it was supposed to be a deserted island without food, where the damned simply wait to die. Oh no, gangster of the West Blue Don Merlone says, you know all about Full Lead? That island of exiles? They call it Pirate Island. They ship out all the hardened criminals there that countries can't handle in their own prison. Okay, so Beehive is essentially Australia, and then Whitebeard says it was supposed to be a desert island without food where the damned simply wait to die. Then Pirate Guru Wang Ji, future Commodore of the Pirate Island, says, but in recent years they've survived and built up a settlement there. How do you think that happened? Ugh, I do not like this guy. Befitting of the name Wang, he looks like a Wang. And then pirate smuggler Ganzui, who is just going to town, says, it turns out that there's a gold load under that island, and the criminals underworld found out. They rushed to help mine it, and the prisoners made themselves a fortune. The government's seen red. Oh, is that how? Is that why it ended up shaped the way it is? All the mining? Rock says, that island's crawling with vicious brigands. Get anywhere near it and they'll rob you blind. So we made a deal with the government. I says to them, if we get that island back, how much will you give us? If they're willing to pay us, sure, we'll go raid Pirate Island and split the treasure between us. But we ain't giving the government the island or the prisoners. I'm gonna rule over Full of Lead, and I've got the idiots who live there to help me build a pirate paradise. I'll get the idiots who live there to help me build a pirate paradise. Can't you just see the dumbfounded looks on the government and Navy's faces? Oh boy, this is just a prologue to my life. With that island as my base, I'll wipe out the Navy and bring the Holy Land to its knees. and in the end, I'll be the king of the world. Loki is listening to all this intently. Harold says, "You're making an enemy out of the entire world. It's just too much to handle." Rock says, "Go ahead and doubt me. Sooner or later, someone's gonna do it. There's no authority in the world that lasts forever. Let's go, Harold. If we team up, we're unstoppable." And Loki just listens as Harold says, "Save your breath, I'm a king." Rock says, "You think I care? Let's go and take over the world." Well, Loki smiles, saying the world. Then the narration says, and the next thing Loki knew, his outlook on life had been saved. I'm not really sure what about Rock said connected with Loki, if I'm being honest. 4 years later, after Harold ignored repeated invitations, Rox finally carried out his plan. The formidable lineup that joined him caused the world to quake with terror. As Rox approaches full of lead, he says, "Let's get going, boys." To be continued. Man, that's so wild. I gotta tell you, I wasn't really expecting that. Man, I really wanted to see more of the situation with Eam and Luffy and how they were going to deal with all that, but I don't know, the story we're getting here. I'm glad at least Chopper's here to maybe tell the rest of the crew, though, because Luffy only ever tends to listen to so much of the information. I wanted to see more of what Eam could do, though. How do you get everyone who was turned into demons back to normal? The fact that Gunko specifically has remained youthful looking for so long, I wonder why. How does someone who has a connection to Brook end up having remained young for so long, where the elders didn't even get that? What makes Gunko so special? Because the other Holy Knights, Garling has led the Holy Knights and he didn't get to remain young. And the fact that it was Harold's guards who killed him. Why? I'm still not understanding. Was the scent bred amongst the guards because of the head guard who heard so much of what Estrid had said? Is that it? And to think that Loki had to go through all that at such a young age. Gee, it's unfortunate. Harold was a good king, but not the best dad, because, did he even get to spend time with Haruden? He was so busy trying to make his nation great. And that's understandable. He had an important job to do. But he neglected his family too much. See, it's very complicated. That's a complicated situation. Because people can't be perfect. People tend to make mistakes in one place or another, but dang. And he was too late to... Loki just couldn't believe that his dad would care about him. That's unfortunate. And then the introduction of the rock spirits, that's wild. I don't know, that's a lot to process. And the fact that there were people who had theories about that, but now to actually see him outside of a silhouette. Dang. Yeah, I need some time with all of that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din and hope to see you in the next one. So then, take care. Bye-bye.